Welcome back to WCB Jazz Vinyl. So I have some sad news to report, but maybe it's news that some have been cheering for, or at least expecting. And I've been following a little bit of the chatter about this online, and I felt the need to record a video and weigh in because I actually think some of it may be misinterpreted. So I'm going to kind of offer, I guess, at least my thoughts. So the news is that Vinyl Me Please is going under. Their assets have been assigned to a liquidation company, and they'll no longer operate in their current form. So that's the situation. And I've followed this company for a while. I've been a member really off and on since 2019. And I've covered some of the more recent news in terms of them deciding to stop offering service to international customers, the change in the subscription model, all of these things, right, that pissed off a lot of people. And yet, over time, the thing that felt consistent to me is that they did have the ability to put out some great material. I'm a big fan of a variety of their releases, and I'm not saying they hit a home run every single time or that they necessarily were always choosing the best content, but they did indeed have some really truly fantastic releases. So I'm a little sad. So let's kind of talk about first of all, what has Vinyl Me Please said about this? Really, they've said nothing. All of the communication has been through third parties. So I want to cover the two pieces of kind of evidence, if you will, that we have. One is actually the one that came out just a little bit later. So earlier this afternoon, there was an email that went out to, I believe, every single VMP member, and this is what the email said. It says, "Dear community, we know how frustrating the ongoing service hiccups are, and we truly apologize. We wanted to let you know that we're currently working through a restructuring process, and it's expected to be finalized around mid-May. Once complete, operations will return to normal. The monthly selection window is now open, and you will be able to select your May records as usual. The plan is that any customers who haven't received their April selections will receive it, combined with May's shipment. We understand this may cause concern, but we're still here and working through everything as quickly and efficiently as possible. Watch for another email communication within the next couple weeks." So in this email, if you scroll down just a little bit further, there's actually an FAQ page referenced, but without an active link. I did have questions, but I could not access that FAQ page. My guess is that it was just from previous VMP emails, and there was no intention of offering additional FAQs related to this news. So what you'll also note about this email is that it actually didn't come from Vinyl Me Please, or not exactly. So at the very bottom, what's listed is Vinyl Liquidation LLC with an address in Manhattan Beach, California. So this is different, right? Because emails that come from VMP do reference Vinyl Me Please. I believe it does reference Denver, Colorado at the bottom. So this is indeed a message that has come from this third party, Vinyl Liquidation LLC. So who is Vinyl Liquidation LLC? Well, another form or another sort of memo surfaced online as well, which has been making the rounds. And this is actually the one that I think people maybe are slightly, at least slightly misinterpreting. So this document is on letterhead from a company called Resolution Financial Advisors. And it states that Offbeat Ventures, doing business as Vinyl Me Please, executed a general assignment for the benefit of its creditors in favor of Vinyl Liquidation under California law. Basically, VMP is transferring its assets to Vinyl Liquidation, who will be in charge of distributing, I'll call it, the financial value of any remaining assets to its creditors. And then there are instructions for how to file a claim. So this form is available out there. I'll put it in the description of my video. But one thing I want to point out here is that this form doesn't seem to me to be something that they want to get in the hands of the thousands of VMP customers. And it doesn't mean that it isn't relevant though either. And I guess let me clarify. It's not that they are trying to keep it secret. That's not my point. I don't think that this was meant to be the instructions for the thousands of customers in terms of filing a claim. Customers are indeed creditors in this type of situation. Customers who have made an order and haven't received an item are indeed creditors, within the context of what's going on. Now, I know that the natural tendency is for everyone to want to file that claim as quickly as possible. because you're worried about an order that wasn't received, maybe multiple orders. You're worried about pre-orders. You're worried about store credits, all of that kind of stuff, right? In a way, and I don't mean to necessarily give them the benefit of the doubt because I don't think VMP has earned that. I still actually focus a little bit more on that official communication that went out to customers in terms of what's relevant for me. And obviously that came not from VMP, but from Vinyl Liquidation, the assignee in this situation, who is going to be managing the dispersion of assets. Um, and the two things in that is that they said that they expect things to go back to normal, and also to watch for another email within the next couple of weeks. So they did have the opportunity to notify everyone about how to submit a claim if they wanted to. But because they didn't, and because that memo that really seemed like it was directed to like vendors and like, other people who are not end customers, like they sent that out separately, it makes me feel like there's two kind of things going on right here. So I don't want to say that I'm hopeful, but I am curious what the plan is. So it feels to me that there are a lot of people who are focused on that leaked memo from Resolution Financial Advisors and not the email. That's what I'm getting at. Again, my theory, this is not proven, but my theory is that the memo was intended to go to certain creditors and not others. So to explain, in these situations, once assets have been converted to cash and are ready to be dispersed, customers like you and I, who either placed an order that wasn't fulfilled or has unused store credits, as I mentioned, sitting in an account with VMP, are not the first people who get paid. So in this situation, we are called unsecured creditors, meaning we have not received collateral or security interest for our debt, meaning we are not guaranteed repayment if the company defaults. And we're certainly not first in line either. So when assets are liquidated, there's actually a liquidation order in terms of like order of operation, which starts with secured creditors and preferential creditors. So examples of creditors who supersede unsecured creditors like you or I might include, I don't actually know specifically, but if VMP purchased, say, product like vinyl material or cardboard, or had an outstanding debt with a like a third-party design company maybe who is assisting with the design of covers, if there were loans for equipment that are still outstanding, if VMP was behind on like a land lease payment, maybe if they still owed wages to employees. So these are some of the types of things that at least to my knowledge, supersede the money getting actually paid to end customers. So while customers are allowed to file claims, generally speaking, there's no guarantee that we'll receive full payment, and there isn't evidence even that a first come first serve format is actually what would be used in terms of like, if you're thinking about filing a claim and I better get it in really quick, no, or at least that's not going to be relevant. So I actually have a bankruptcy attorney in the family, and I was doing a little bit of internet research, and then I called him. And I asked this exact question, and this is what he said. He said, different types of creditors may have different priorities, but every creditor within a single type will have the same priority. Therefore, if that's the case, if that's true in this case, it's not first come, first serve, as long as you submit your claim by the deadline. So again, I know that there's a lot of interest in this memo, especially because it really feels like it was leaked and like we weren't supposed to get it, and I don't think we were supposed to get it. But I'm just wondering if there's going to be a different plan for customers to get reimbursed, taking in account the possibility that some of the product that VMP has already manufactured could still be shipped. Let's just say if the Coltrane, a Love Supreme box set, was already manufactured and is sitting in a warehouse somewhere. So, this brings things to my situation. So where am I at in all of this? Well, firstly, my subscription, my membership just happens to be up in June. So if I didn't receive anything else, and I have not received my April title, and they're asking us to choose the May title. In fact, Vinyl Liquidation is asking everybody to choose the May title as if they have the ability to ship it. Maybe they do. So regardless, my membership is up in June, which means that I've already paid through June, and I'm not really missing that much. Like, worst case scenario, if you're sticking with me so far, is that I miss out on the April title, the May title, and maybe the June title. Although I don't know if I'd get the June title unless I re-upped my membership. So possibly like 2 records, right? That's kind of the stakes here. Except that over the last year, I've been choosing store credit quite often. And in fact, I have $266 in unused store credit. I'd been thinking about buying this soon to be released A Love Supreme if it's available. And and here's the thing, VMP has been posting a production schedule. They actually pushed this out in an email and then they never really linked to it, and I don't think a lot of people saw it, but there's like a production schedule that they've been updating, letting people know when to expect some of the items that had previously been delayed. So A Love Supreme was supposed to come out last August, and actually they referenced in the latest production schedule that it was indeed planned and expected to be shipped in April, which makes me think, does it exist? Are there copies of this that exist? So I'll kind of set that aside for just a second. Some people online are speculating that if you haven't actually ordered something, then all of your credits will just evaporate. And I'm actually not 100% sure on this. It could be indeed that you can file a claim if you don't end up using them, because it is money that is technically yours that is sitting within, the company, right, whose assets are now being liquidated. Well, after talking to this bankruptcy attorney that I have in my family, he said people with unfulfilled deposits, in this case records, could be in a better position than people with unused credits in terms of getting money back. Which means that if we're thinking about this priority order, and if we're thinking about all the people who are filing claims, it could be that there is a line drawn to say, you know what, people who have a specific item that they've purchased are going to be prioritized ahead of people who do not. It's a possibility, but at the very least, what he said is that people who have already placed those record orders could be in a better position about getting reimbursed, at least partially, than people who have not purchased a record with credits. So therefore, and because VMP is still accepting orders for the May titles, the question becomes, do I use the $266 in store credits, and how? Or do I wait for this further communication that's supposedly coming? So the A Love Supreme box set is now showing as unavailable, and that you can join the waitlist, which either it means it's sold out and I just wasn't paying attention, or they're not making it available for new purchases for another reason. And I can't, speculate exactly on why that might be. So, here's the thing. For those of us who enjoyed VMP, it's a sad day, but again, perhaps inevitable after all the legal trouble, the firing of the leadership team, the debacle with funds being misappropriated without the knowledge of the board. And I know that there's also a lot of people who are just cheering from the stands because they felt slighted at some point from VMP. I don't have all the answers just yet in terms of what happens next or what I plan to do with my unused credits. Would it be the end of the world if I had to give up $266? No. That money has been sitting in my VMP account for a while and, out of sight, out of mind. Is it a shame? Sure. Could I use that $266 in another way? Sure. But would I, like just completely lose my shit? No. It's fine, I suppose, whatever. We're all figuring this out though in real time, and I don't have any other information, so I guess we'll wait and see. And of course, I'll try and keep you posted if there's any major information coming out as well. So for now, thanks everyone. Please do consider subscribing to my channel so you can stay up to speed on this absolutely fascinating topic, and I'll see you next time.